Welcome to Dove and Dragon Radio. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak. I'm here with special guest, Jason Azevedo. I'm going to just say Jason, the founder of MRCA. I try to pronounce it. I'm not going to.
Oh, good. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, what is MRCA?
So functionally, MRCA is a private equity firm. But really what it is, it's a group of manufacturing companies. So we buy legacy US manufacturing companies with the goal and the focus of making sure that the companies stay in the local communities that they serve, but also growing them into a national portfolio. So we go and buy usually second, third generation US companies. Our investors get to participate with us as these companies turn profits. And then we, at year about 5 to 7, we'll take the entire portfolio and we're actually going to transition it to a full employee ownership. So the American factory worker will actually own the factory that they work in, and then their investors get their payout on the exit of that also.
Awesome. That is a novel thing that we need so much in America. We've seen this with the pandemic, with everything shutting down, and where our supply chains just stop.
Yeah, it is a very timely exercise that we're doing, but it's also something that's been a long time coming. The U.S. manufacturing has long been known as the pinnacle of the world, and it very quickly companies are starting to understand that moving more and more manufacturing to be domesticated is very, very important and very, very lucrative to in the modern market.
Correct. I have my own print shop, or we're getting ready to open. So I'm not second generation, but we're in first generation. But we're seeing that the things that we make here is actually cheaper on our back end than it is on our anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a misnomer that I hear people repeat a lot, that it's too expensive to manufacture in the US. And frankly, that's simply not true anymore. If you look, Foxconn, the #1 Chinese contract manufacturer, is building a plant in Wisconsin. So if even foreign sources have started to run the math and go, oh, wait, it's actually fiscally viable to produce in the US. And with the US being, frankly, the largest consumption country in the world, there are more and more products that need to get to people faster. So we're in a very unique turning point where we can take all of these legacy companies that have very strong business indicators and turn them into the modern manufacturing companies that they need to be to match where the markets are going.
That is wonderful. Now, what type of companies are you? I know you said manufacturing, that has a plethora of companies under it. So what kind of companies are you mostly working with?
So with this fund, we are heavily working with companies that operate in the industrial space. Think tractors, buses, fire trucks, whether they're painting them or building them or making the dashboards for them. There's a plethora of different items that go into kind of the industrial sector. We also have a packaging division and a sheet metal and products division that's doing direct to consumer products.
Well, see, this is why I asked, because there's, like I said, my family is all manufacturing. So I got the welding part from one family, and I have plastics in another, and everything else. But at the same time, you're going with the made to market, basically the automotive, the things that we consume every day.
Yeah, our portfolio is really balanced on the two sides. You hit on it, that you're going to one place for the plastic, one for the metal, all that. That's a very old school mentality that's still stuck in the US, that one of the things that we're working on is a more complete supply chain for our customers. Because if you think 40, 50 years back, when a lot of our supply chains were frankly designed within the US, products were simple. They only had, they were all made of metal, or they were all plastic. They weren't the complexities of, okay, there's 15 metal parts in here plus an injection molded part. And frankly, what we've seen with the OEMs and the customers that we serve, they just want a completed item. So if we can do that within our portfolio, and that's why we go national and buy so many manufacturing companies, is because they heavily do feed each other.
Right. We look at Mattel or Barbie.
Yeah.
You go back to the 80s, Barbie was all plastic. Now you have the spring hinges and the whatnots and everything else that's in there. And there's like 6 different components to Barbie now.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest products have gotten really complex to manufacture. And this is a very large opportunity in the US to kind of shake up the manufacturing industry, is by providing more of a complete solution to customers. And we've seen this for years in foreign production, where they have started to streamline the supply chain so the customer themselves doesn't feel all the movements that are going on.
Right. Now, with your supply chains that you're working with in manufacturing, are you doing direct to customer, drop shipping, or direct to stores?
A little bit of everything. So we do huge programs shipping into Walmart. Walmart, Costco, BJ's, pretty much every big box. We also have certain products that are pushed directly through Amazon online. And then we do a ton of products for other people that we are manufacturing an aspect for them or developing out an aspect of their final product.
That is awesome. You're doing a lot, but you're taking something that needs to be updated, because our manufacturing has not been updated in 50 years. But we need to update, and you're doing that now.
Yeah, and the cool thing is there's a lot of really, really good, amazing, profitable American companies that exist there. And oftentimes what the limiting factor is the owner is ready to retire, and they really haven't thought through what is my exit strategy. I hear it all the time. I just plan to die in the plant. But then one day they sit there and go, I don't want to do this anymore. So these companies are really well set up, but they just need somebody to come in with the energy to go, you know what, we're going to update them to this next phase of manufacturing. But if you look at even Tesla's plants right now, they're white floors, brightly lit, they're gorgeous. And getting regular manufacturing companies that are on the smaller to mid-market side, getting them to get to that point of everything being really very well lit, employee wellness being the primary key, that is what will push this phase forward.
Exactly. We have to go back to the employees, because employees run the plant.
Yeah.
That's just the way things are. You have to have your employees healthy. You have to have them happy, but you also have to have everything under OSHA correct.
Yeah. And the way I explain to a lot of people is, if you go back 40 years, a mother and a father return to their child and go get a factory job. It's good. It'll take care of you. You'll get a good living, all that. Well, we kind of went awry for a little while there and forgot that manufacturing, realistically, especially now with the new technologies, it's a people game. It's all about the laborers. So because the machinery can do a ton of the work now. So what you need good people that are treated very well to keep these plants running. And we've got a goal to get it back to people turning to their children and going, hey, manufacturing is a really good way for you to get ahead. And to do that, it's all about employee wellness. And you hit it perfectly. If you take care of the employees will take care of the company.
I mean, you go back to Ford, my grandfather, both of them, and my dad all retired from Ford. That was a really good job 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Now we have to get back to being the place you want to work, not I'm just here because I have to be.
Correct. And that is going to come from manufacturing ownership, is truly understanding the way to succeed is to take care of these people. And if people can get that into the fabric of their organizations, you're going to see it go back to people going, hey, go into manufacturing. It's good for you. It's going to be a good, stable job. It is pretty much the only industry that you can get to making 6 figures with zero education and no barrier to entry. And most manufacturers prefer to train you on the job. So it's really a tool to get people and get communities to just thrive again. But the ownership must make the commitment to make it about the people.
Right. We've seen how many over the years, how many factories have closed down and the communities surrounding that factory turned into Detroit.
They turn into wastelands. And it goes, that's why one of our core principles is not to pull the businesses out of the local communities that they serve. We've got a group right now that we're trying to finish an acquisition on. They employ more people than the population of the town they're in. They are one of the single most important things in that area. So what happens, unfortunately, when large conglomerates normally come in is they'll buy 7 or 8 of these plants, shut down all of them, and build one giant one somewhere. And it's just not appropriate in our eyes. Is, hey, you've got a really good company. You just spent money buying a company. Why would you go rip it all to shreds just to centralize it? And frankly, that model's falling apart with all of the increases in transportation throughout the US. Having regional locations that do multiple things is very, very helpful because you're closer to your end customers.
Exactly. And we're seeing that more businesses are moving toward this because we're waking up and go, oh, wait, one plant for everything and then shipping it everywhere isn't economic like it was 30 years ago.
Totally. And like everything else, times change. This is not using the playbook of 30 years ago doesn't work. I mean, just the technological advances in manufacturing. Nowadays, the robotics can do almost anything. And I talk to people a lot, and the big worry is, well, the robots are going to take people's jobs. They're not. But simply what's going on right now is we are consuming probably 4 to 5 times as many products a day that we were 50 years ago. So that means that the same number of workers need to get out 4 to 5 times as many products. So the only way to do that is to back them up with really strong tools and with new technologies so that saves their bodies. And we're not trading their actual physical bodies for production. Now we're using what humans are best at, using their minds to go, hey, that looks right, this is running correctly, and really teaming the two up is incredibly important.
It really is, especially when you get into the technical, like plastics or metalwork or stuff like this. You have to have a machine do it to save the human body, because what happens if you go back to 50 years ago, what was the lifespan of a worker was what, 10 to 15 years? Well, now we're working until we're 80.
Yeah, well, and it goes back to beyond just that single worker. It's important to the community they're in, because if somebody gets off from their shift and they are exhausted and cannot move and they're hurting, guess what? They're not going to go out to the local restaurant. They're not going to be active in their community. They're not going to bring all the value that person would normally bring outside of work. If they get off and, hey, they might be a little mentally tired because you're at work. That's what happens at work. But you still have it in you. You're going to play with your kids. You're going to go take them out to a ball game. You're just that simple effect of not beating the daylights out of the employees has the ability to have that employee go into the community and completely make massive lasting change within it. So it is incredibly important to us to acknowledge that while it is about taking care of our employees, it's really their effect on the community around them. And that's where the decision to do an ESOP to the employees for the entire portfolio as our exit came in, was that way we can guarantee even after we exit, because because of how the fund works, we can still guarantee the decision making for what's going to happen to that community is held in that community. And that is incredibly important, because now you're actually providing a legacy that will live in perpetuity, that can only truly be affected by the employees within the organizations.
Exactly. And we need this so much right now, because how many times as an employee do I go, my voice is not heard? Well, now you're getting into a company where you are the voice.
Yeah. And I mean, studies in and out have shown that ESOPs are, the companies are always more profitable. They have significantly less safety and danger and injury issues. They put out a higher quality product because the people have ownership. They know it's theirs, that they're working for something. They're not just doing it for someone else. So we've fallen in love with the concept, and we love the fact that from an investment side, yes, there is good, strong, we're targeting very good, strong returns, but it doesn't have to be in opposition to the people within the organization.
Exactly. That's why we see businesses doing the stock shares for their employees. It's not as big as an ESOP, but at the same time, we're trying to give ownership to an employee, even if it's just one share a year or whatever it is. It's something to reward them and say, hey, this is my company.
Yeah, and that is incredibly important. The word that we use is fulfilled. People must be fulfilled, and they must be proud of what they're doing. This isn't necessarily just at work. This isn't necessarily, it's just in your entire life. You must find a version of fulfillment. So if you can set entire communities that start feeling like they have purpose, they have a direction, they're not just helplessly floating through the world, you have the ability in that moment to completely change what's going on in the world and really bring that strength back together. And that's what we're out effectively doing.
And that's wonderful that you're effectively doing it, because we need it right now. We need this globally, but right now let's concentrate on locally.
Exactly. And I mean, we are very pro-American manufacturing. I mean, it's in the name of our company, but it isn't because we're against anyone else. We just know our local communities, and we want to do what we can to protect our local communities.
Exactly. Now, if a company wanted to come to you, say they're getting ready to retire, they're second, third generation, how do they get a hold of you, or how do you find more companies to invest in?
So twofold. We invite everyone to go to mrca.net. There is actually a link on there. You can get a private meeting with me at any time. We are very open books. Even if you're interested in doing something similar to what we're doing, or you're interested in investing or anything like that, we share the content. We do believe what we're doing is a roadmap that others can also, whether it be in manufacturing or any other world, and we want as many people to go out and do it. And the amount of opportunity in front of us is drastically large. But when we look at companies, my brother heads up a lot of our finding and bird dogging the companies, and there will be weeks he goes through 100 plus companies that we review. We definitely look at a lot of companies. Not a lot get past that first review, but as soon as we start to really get a feel, hey, we like this group or not, the first thing we do is jump on the phone with the current owner. Because you're going to find out a lot. How does that person speak about their people? How do they talk about their clients? How do they talk about their company? We get to meet some of the most amazing people I've ever seen, because these are guys that a lot of them got back from war and started these companies, or something happened and they came from absolutely nothing, dirt floors, and built this $50 million company. And to listen to the stories you get out of the sellers is just unbelievable.
I think that's one of the reasons why I love the show. I get to hear so many stories from people of why they got into their business.
Yeah, we're actually going to kick off for the portfolio, every owner sitting down with them for an hour and having them just document on video all the craziness, all the ups, the downs, because these are usually some of the most resilient people I've ever met in my life. And that's why they have these great companies. And frankly, that's why a lot of them didn't have an exit plan, because in their mind, they were just going to keep on running it forever. And then one day they're sitting there going, I just don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I think retirement does sound nice.
Exactly. I mean, we have a couple just generations there. When they started these companies, they are so resilient. They started it during the Great Depression. They started it during Vietnam. They started at whatever time period that we're in. But to grow it into what it is, you have so many crazy stories.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you just take trying to keep one of these companies going in the last 20 years, so let's go to 22, 24, 25 years. You got the 2007 crash. You've got the 2000 bomb, the 2007, the dot bomb crashes, ruins all the markets. You've got the 2007, 2008 crash. Then the poor guys ended up with, getting COVID in the last couple years. And these wonderful owners have figured out how to make it work every single time. And these are things that should have killed all of them off in business, and having massive foreign competition. And there's no reason. You start talking to them, and you're like, oh, but this is how you did it. And this is what the organization looks like. I was talking to one person, they had this gentleman owns a wonderful, wonderful company. And we're like, okay, what's happened over the years? He goes, well, we blew the building up twice. We have another one that we're in talks with right now. And he goes, oh yeah. I've been through, this company's been through 2 tornadoes. One ripped the roof right off the building. We're like, what do you do when that happens? He goes, you rebuild. There's nothing, what else are you gonna do? So we love to get those stories. So that is something we look at, is try to find owners that have these stories of resilience and really show that just American ingenuity and grit to really just keep these companies alive. So if we find a company who has that, we know it already has built-in resilience. You've got the building is full of fighters, people that are willing to push the envelope and try new things.
That is a great motto, and I can't wait to get all these stories onto a video so I can listen to some of them and go, how did you do that?
Yeah, there are a couple of them you almost have to sit there and go, okay, you're messing with me, right? And it's like, no, they all check out. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness. That would make a wonderful, wonderful podcast just for these companies, because A, it shows resilience. B, maybe it'll teach our younger generation something about getting out there and how to build something out of nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we started our first company. I was 15 and my brother was 20. And I remember we started in February of 2007. And here comes the 2008 crash. And right as we got off the ground, everybody's, it's the worst time ever to start a business. You guys are going to fail. It's going to be horrible. And I remember us turning to each other at one point, because all this noise gets in your head. And all these people who've never actually done it themselves, but they still will tell you why it can't be done. And my brother and I kind of realized at one point, like, we're so broke that we don't know the market's bad. What does it matter? Like, this is a great time to start. All the equipment is on fire sale. There's turmoil everywhere. So we've always seen it as a blessing that we started then, but the amount of people that told us, oh, no, you guys are going to lose everything. It's horrible. Our everything was $600 cash. Okay. We love to just kind of put that back to people and go, hey, the reason why we buy legacy companies is because we love that ingenuity. We know that we want to hold them and keep them and strengthen them. But that doesn't mean to go start new stuff. The problem is really never as bad as you make it out to be in your head usually.
It's really not. I mean, I started my company in 2020. Think about that.
Yeah, that is a hard time.
But, it was a great time to open a company in 2020. It's a great time now to grow it. But, everyone was saying, you're going to lose everything. It's not going to take off. You have to get out of your head. You have to go back to the ones that were before you that have been through the Great Depression or wars or whatever, and you find what they did to succeed.
Well, I was on a hike with the founder of Atari 4 or 5 years ago, And I mean, this guy's the mentor to Steve Jobs. I've been fortunate enough to be at events with him a couple times. And I'm quite positive he doesn't even remember this conversation, because to him, it wasn't incredibly important. But we're talking, I remember at the time, our company was tight on funds. And I had a bunch of people giving me this tip or that tip, all people who had never done it. I started talking to him, and he mentioned something at one point. He goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I would up until like the day I sold Atari, there were times I couldn't make payroll, and like the money's there, but it's not there, and this." I'm like, "Whoa, you're a god." He goes, "Yeah, all of us run into this. Welcome to business." And it was so eye-opening, because that was the truth of it. It isn't a straight path. No, it never is. And you get a lot of people that want to go out and tell everybody, "Oh, it's a straight path, it's going to be good." And it's like, either that person's lying to you, or they've never actually done it. Because
Exactly.
business is a war constantly.
Look at Tesla, look at Amazon, look at Walmart. They all started and had their struggles. How many times was Elon Musk ready to file bankruptcy? How many times was Jeff Bezos ready to give up? We all go through it.
Yeah, and it's just really, we get to talk to, frankly, owners that have done this and hear the stories, and it's amazing. And then we go back to, if we can take that company that they've just put their heart and soul into, and maybe their dad put his heart and soul in it before them, and that this is a generational tool, and you can empower the employees within that, you're going to make very good returns. But more importantly, and very, very, very focused, is if you can get that resilience out in the community, it starts fixing the communities too, because that is truly that strength that we need back as a country, is in that it is through that fulfillment.
It is. We have to start teaching our younger generation the resilience that made these companies what they are.
Correct. I could not agree with that more.
But we are almost out of time. So one more time, where can our listeners and our viewers find you and your company?
MRCA.net. And like I said, there's links on there. If you're interested in investing, there's an investment link. There's a link to my direct Calendly. You can get time on to discuss pretty much anything you want directly with me. Also with multiple of the other partners. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Awesome. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And for our listeners and our viewers, happy growing.